I'd like to begin by welcoming my old friend, Mr. Gingrich, back. Glad to see you here, Newt. I share your concern on the points that you have raised as you've gone over these matters. The question of competitiveness in this matter is a very important one. The question of how it is we're to address this business of global warming at the same time while we're dealing with the other questions of preserving competitiveness is a matter of great concern. China and India, as you have indicated, have indicated that they're going to be developing countries for always, and that means we have some problems. There are others who are out from under the burdens of this under the Kyoto Agreement and who have a potential for a large advantage over the United States. These things I find are very, very troublesome to me. And so the first question is, how do we see to it that we don't be the only country in the world which carries this load? How do we, for example, address the questions of trade? How do we, for example, address the questions of dealing with the business of cap and trade so that it doesn't impose excessive burdens on our people while letting others get away? What do we do with regard to addressing these concerns within the framework of a global cap and trade package, but also within the framework of things like GATT and the WTO?
Well, let me say, first of all, Mr. Chairman, you know full well in Michigan, in the area that you've represented so ably, what the pain has been of unemployment and of competition killing jobs. I worry a great deal. The European experience was captured in one study in which a cement plant left Belgium under cap and trade and opened up in Morocco, actually emitting more carbon in Morocco than it was originally emitting in Belgium, taking the jobs away from Belgians and giving them to Moroccans. And I do worry that if we unilaterally adopt this, that it will be a disaster. Now, Vice President Gore, for example, was very optimistic about the Chinese. You know, it might be useful to offer an amendment that said that the cap and trade section of this bill would only go into effect when it was certified that the Chinese had adopted a comparable program. I think that would be one way to guarantee that I think it would probably never go into effect, but B, that we wouldn't be kidding ourselves about what we're going to do to American jobs. In this economy,
Chinese, when I was at Kyoto, told me that they were that they were a developing country, they were not going to be covered by the agreement, and that they would never be covered by the agreement because they're always going to be a developing country. And
I'm a witness to that. That really happened.
Yeah. Now, the problem that is our concern here is we have to do something about the wasteful use of energy in this country. And I desperately want to support this bill, principally for that reason. But the question is, if we have this nasty balancing. On the one hand, we've got to deal with the question of how we make other countries comply and cooperate, how we at the same time achieve the efficiencies that we've got to do, how we force other countries to comply, and how we don't wind up with a huge mess and a loss of jobs on our own hands.
Look, I think you're putting your finger on the heart of the challenge of this bill. Let me just say, I believe you could write a bill that liberated the nuclear power energy industry and allowed us to move towards dramatically more nuclear, which would take a great deal of carbon out of the atmosphere. I believe you could write a bill which dramatically incentivized moving towards a green coal system of carbon sequestration and using the carbon then to have enhanced oil recovery. I think you could write a bill which had a very substantial increase in research and development for materials technology, for hydrogen, and for other breakthroughs. And I think, frankly, you could move ethanol from 10 to 15% of all liquid fuels, and you could move towards a much better use of natural gas. And the combined effect would both dramatically increase the American economy, reduce the amount of carbon loading in the atmosphere, create a lot of American jobs, and improve our national security. None of the things I just mentioned requires a national federal bureaucracy to micromanage jacuzzis, and none of the things I just mentioned requires punishing anybody. And I think that's got to be part of the key. We have to, in a world market, when we unilaterally punish Americans, we cripple the American worker in competing with our foreign competitors.